Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Pasha. I'm on the Jefferson County Commission. I'll let everybody introduce themselves as we get started. This is not a county commission meeting. This is the town hall. So we're here to hear from you. We'll do a little bit of talking, but what we really want to do is have y'all talk and tell us what you need, what you think is best for your community, et cetera. And we're really here to listen. So this is a town hall meeting. This is our 5th one. We're going all around the county, talking to all the volunteer fire companies and asking them, what do you think should be the future of the fire service in Jefferson County? We have a problem in our county that you all are well aware of. We have a booming population, and we don't have the services to keep up with that growth. We're trying to keep up with it, but every time we have a population boom, services have to keep pace, and it's a challenge. The good news is there are other counties around that have faced this problem before. Perhaps we can learn from them. We can learn from consultants. We can do a study and figure out what the issue is. But most importantly, we want to learn from y'all. That's why we're here tonight. So tonight is about the future of the fire service, not just over the next 6 months or the next year, but for the next 20 years. To get us started, I'd like to hand the microphone off to my colleague, Mike Mood, who's a commissioner, but as you all know, also fire chief.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out here this evening. One of the differences we wanted to do in this study over the previous one was the ambulance study. We had no input on. And it's one of the things that really upset the volunteers that we got it at the end. Here's where it was, and that was it. So as we started working with this, we wanted to make this polar opposite. So that's where we are now. We're at the beginning of this. We're at this point trying to get input from everybody as to what your abilities are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and how we move forward from there. So that's why we want to hear from you all now and take this information to the FISH program and help get the best study that we get. I'll pass it on to Karen.
Hi, my name is Kara Keys. I'm a county commissioner. Excited to hear what your thoughts are so we can incorporate your thoughts and opinions into the study.
Steve, can you give us some of the background here?
Yes. Just so you know, the commission, as you well know, we have 5 commissioners. 3 of the 5 commissioners are brand new to this year. We started in January. I am the most senior commissioner, been in office since 2020. I was involved during the first original ambulance fish study, and I was also on the board when the county commission voted to ask for a study on fire, as well as Commissioner Modgett. There was some talks about doing a levy for the fire, and before we put out a levy, we wanted to know exactly what the needs were, because whenever you're bringing in taxpayer money, you have to be very responsible for the money as you're bringing in. We want to make sure we weren't duplicating services, that we wanted to make sure we had enough personnel to get on fire trucks, because a fire station full of fire trucks and no firemen are driving is no good. And we need adequate staffing as well too. So that's what the purpose of this study is for the commission to understand what the need is. So a little bit of history there. We looking forward to trying to answer some of your questions and field some of your questions. I'm going to turn it over to Chief. Anything to say?
Well, I'm just glad you got me. See, I told you I'm not a good starter. Okay, is it on there?
Sir.
So I just want to thank you guys for coming to us and wanting to work with all 7 fire departments or 8 fire departments in the county to try to make this thing work as a team and a county as we all should. Over the past, a lot of things has came in and gone away, and the community is a big part of Jefferson County. And unfortunately, the community is growing very, very fast and it's overgrown us. So you guys doing this, I greatly appreciate you guys doing it, and inviting all of us to be a part, other than just a couple of making decisions for the whole county.
Thank you, Chief. And as we've said, I just want to explain again, we're starting a study. We don't have a study. We're not going to present the study to you here tonight. That's not what we're trying to do. We're at the very beginning. So we don't have answers yet. We're just in listening mode. And we've asked Mr. Knight to lead this project for us. Could you tell folks a little bit about yourself, your background, and then let them know where you are in the process and gathering input from the experts here in the room?
Yes, absolutely. Good evening. My name is Steve Knight. I'm a consultant with Fitch and Associates, and my background is a third generation firefighter. Started as a volunteer and did a whole career in a career department. Retired from there. I was a firefighter, paramedic, etc. Been in consulting full time about 12 years now. And as far as the study, as described, where we're at now is we've been working in the background with county staff to capture all the response related data in the GIS layers, et cetera, so we can do all those kind of quantitative analyses, data driven elements. We're getting close to having that so we can process it all. And at the same time, we've asked all of the chiefs from each of the departments for some individual specific data, about your department, how many trucks you have, the age of the trucks, the personnel qualifications, all those kinds of things. So we're still in the information gathering stage on all of that. And then to complement that, the commission really pushed forward for these stakeholder meetings, which have been very, very fruitful so far, for us to engage with you and get your top drawer ideas and, describe really what your greatest challenges are and what you all have thought about would be the right fits.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. So as you described, I'll just reiterate one last time before we open it up for comments. We also start thinking of comments, please. This is designed to be a collaborative project. The commission does not have a plan that we're trying to sell you or anything. We don't have it. We haven't written it. We're here to listen, and we want to write it together. So that's what this is all about. There's no type of agenda coming in to try and accomplish something that we want to do. We don't have something that we want to do. We just have a problem that we all recognize. Booming population, how do you keep up with service? And we're gonna ask the question, what's the best way to do that? And we're starting that with you all here in the room tonight. So first, anything you want to say, please grab a microphone and tell us what's on your mind. And if you want to prompt to start thinking about questions, the question is, okay, over the next 10 or 20 years, how should Jefferson County provide fire service to a growing population?
Start that one.
This guy started, right?
Yeah.
Well, the gosh loves to talk.
Yeah. One Josh.
Hey, good afternoon. For you that don't know me, my name is Josh Stillwell. I'm a mountain resident, born and raised here. One thing I came tonight for to talk to you guys about was our ambulance service. Blue Ridge Mountain is a large tax base. And it seems like for some reason we keep being forgotten. And I think we need to really, rather Chief Sign here needs more people. And I know he needs more people. I mean, that's obvious, a lot more people. Probably a lot better pay too. I mean, I know nobody wants to pay more taxes, but hey, here's where we are. I can honestly say, and I think people in the room could agree with me, that if Jefferson County had two large major incidents, we'd be very past. I mean, we've emptied pretty much all our resources right now. Like if you had to explain myself, if you had a house fire in Middleway, house fire in Shenandoah, all our resources would be maxed. We'd have to bring people from other counties just to cover. Recently we had a structure fire in Harper's Ferry area out on Stratford Lane on Labor Day, and pretty much depleted his paramedics and EMTs that day. They were having to call people in. I mean, guys, this is 2025 and it's lives are on the line here. Give the example, if their paramedics tied up on the fire engines that day, if my mom or grandmother would have had a heart attack up here, they would be calling Loudoun County, Virginia. So I'm just saying, hey, what can we do? We need to start looking at that. Volunteers, I would love to know the answer, try to get more, but unfortunately, where we're at now, a lot of people are busy. We have to go across the mountain to make good money to support our families. So we need help. I mean, I hope, like I said, I don't know if the fire levy's the answer, but some kind of tax base to where we can support these guys, and if we need to get, you know, more career, I know we need more help. I mean, 2 guys in the station just isn't enough. So, that's my thoughts right now. I'm here really just to listen. I might think of something else once people get talking, but number one, real quick though, if you guys can do something for this mountain, we need an ambulance up here somewhere. I mean, right here, guys got good rooms right here. I mean, give you an example, my wife's grandmother the other night, Blue Ridge Acres. Harper Sterry's our first due response, my station I run at. They were tied up on a call. She had to wait till Charlestown came. That was a long time. And, I mean, longer than what it should have been. Rather, you know, if we'd have had help here, we could have came from here while Harper Ferry was on their call. You understand what I'm saying? So it's time that we mountain folks get what we pay for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As far as the ambulance goes, let me just hit the hot button issue right away. We have 3 target areas that need an increase in resources, and Mountain's the top 3. I think Cartersville is 1. And I think y'all have 2. Somebody might be able to speak to that better than I can, but we have a list of places that need to get more resources right away. And that's the rank. Does that sound about right, Eddie? Design,
No, it's, Middle Way, Farnsville Mountain.
Middle Way, Farnesville, and Mountain.
Why did it break that way?
Yeah, why?
Why did it break that way?
What data is supporting that ranking?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Next time.
It took all the information from the pitch study. We looked at available at the times, travel time, the coverage maps that Fish did, the available resources that we have, which are only 5 24-hour ambulances and 1 12-hour ambulance, which is just a basic unit. Took all those factors, the stations, where they're at, dispatch, how we use quickest route for EMS. So that's a little different from fireboxes. Fireboxes are made by the fire chief. They determine who's going to run where in what area. We let the 911 software, the CAD software, determine what is truly based on roads, traffic lights, all the factors involved. It uses a computer program to determine what it thinks would be the average response time. Obviously, you have weather and other factors that you can't necessarily predict, but it tells us how long a unit will go to get there, where they'll come from. We could plug in an address and run simulated calls and see where will the unit come from. Look at call data, the amount of call volume for a particular area, the geographic, how is your area laid out in comparison to the location of your station. So obviously, there's a lot of stuff. If I had more money, I'd have people in every station. Right now, I have 5 24-hour day units. We have 7 fire stations. That just doesn't compute. So somebody goes without. It's a hard choice to make, but reality is 5 doesn't equal 7. We have very low ambulance fee. That's where a portion of our revenue comes from. You know, we don't do a good job of educating the public on our whole entire system. What's volunteer, what's paid, what pays for what's the cost of things. Historically, even in my years as a volunteer, we never did a good job of going. A couple of the town halls that we had up here, one particularly in Shannondale, way back during the part of the transition, we talked to a lot of the people that came to that meeting about the fee. You know, there was a big discussion about why are we losing our ambulance. People would willingly, if they know what they're getting, they don't really realize what they're getting now, would pay 100. Majority of those people said, I'll pay $100 right now. Well,
100%.
man, if we could convince everyone that I could put people out here in every station. But I'm stuck trying to figure out what's the best place. Looking at the data, looking at the CAD responses, looking at the call volume, Charlestown and Ransom is exploding. That's where the most volume is. Granted, it's close to the hospital, but like Josh was just saying, one fire call, Jefferson County, the EMS does fire too. We're not like Berkeley. So one fire call, guaranteed 50% of my staff is gone. If it's of any size of incident, 3/4 to 100% of my staff is tied up. There are no ambulances available. So we think about resources like that. The middle way obviously didn't have staffing. Bakerton doesn't have staffing. The call, that and here are the 3 lowest call volume areas. We look at how Friendship services Bakerton, Shepherdstown services the back area, Muller's Crossroad. We look at how Independent services Middleway. And then we look at the mountain. Friendship, the way we laid it out, Friendship comes up and catches Blue Ridge Acres. And in comparison to how the ambulance was serving the mountain prior to the transition, the bulk of the residents up here are getting equal service. I know it doesn't seem like it, because you don't have an ambulance parked up here, but you are, because that ambulance was in the substation, the crew was at the school. So the crew had to leave the trailer at the school, drive to the substation, park their car, get in there, get the ambulance out, and respond. That took 3 to 4 minutes. If the weather was nice and other conditions. In the same amount of time, Citizens is up here. So I have to really be diligent about where I park them and the times. There are half a minute difference between an ambulance from here and an ambulance from Citizens. The call volume on the mountain is split between Route 9, 50/50. There's an average of 10 calls a week. I haven't done reports lately, but the reports I had said 10 calls a week. I'm sure all the call volume has gone up around the county, but it's split. If I park a unit here and the dispatch system, the computer calls for the unit from Citizens because it determines it's closer to Mission Road, this unit sitting here is only running 5 calls a week. Now, is it benefiting the community around here? Absolutely. But when I only have 5 units to work with to cover an entire county, those are the things I have to kind of look at. I've never denied the fact that we don't need an ambulance back up here. We need everything. I mean, I live in Farmington. I'm 15, 18 minutes from Jefferson or Middleway if they had their ambulance. You know, some of you guys have heard we're putting in what's called a flex truck. That flex truck was created using budget money that was originally budgeted when we had part-time staff. Our part-time staff, we lost a considerable amount of those over COVID. People who worked other career jobs were restricted from part-time because their main job didn't want them coming here and getting COVID and being off from their main job. So these guys spent 2 years where they didn't have the part-time job and they either figured out I didn't really need that money, they made it happen. And they never came back. And it's just a continual process of onboarding employees, trying to keep them active. It takes 2 months to onboard and certify someone to get them ready to go. That's a continual amount of money that we have to pour out. We got down to the point at the end where we had less than a handful of part-time people who worked. Out of a budget of over $900,000, they worked 4,000 hours. And half of that was training. So we were getting nothing out of that. So before we lost that revenue because that revenue line wasn't being used, how do we fix this? What can we do better? So decided, can we put another truck on 24 hours a day to help backfill vacancies? You know, the ambulance service is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, fire same way. anybody who works it, there's a button seat. Somebody calls out sick, somebody's gotta work that spot. So that incurs extra hours, overtime. It has a significant negative impact on our budget, which is already thin to begin with. So we decided that we could put this truck together. The main purpose of it would be for these people to backfill vacation, sick, whatever, to help stabilize our budget. And then in the instance where there's a day where we don't need backfill, that truck will be available as an extra 24-hour truck for the day. So again, looking at the map, looking at response times, looking at what we had in place, how currently the mountain's being served. Understandably, the end of Mission Road, there's no way to fix that unless we park an ambulance way down there at that Patriot Way. So somebody's gonna have a long response time, just like if you live in Knowles Crossroads, you live on some point, there are areas of the county, just like other counties surrounding us, where there are extended response times, and we just can't fix that without building a 25-hour thing. So we continue to work with the model and expand it. The next, what we saw is the next in call volume is kind of equal between the mountain and middle way, but we have extended response times compared to the model that we're currently using. Middle way had a move-in ready station because they previously had an animal, they had phone crews and stuff. You also have it, but looking at how you're being served by Friendship and Citizens, Middle way was the next spot. So that is why you're hearing this flex truck, which we don't know at this point how often it's going to be in service there. Its main purpose is to backfill schedule, to reduce overtime and save costs. So hopefully it's there and can make an impact and shows that, hey, when we get staffing, if we only get 8 more people, we can put it there, then we can move the flex truck somewhere else, maybe here. So it's a game of chess. It really all boils down to the fact, use all the data I can use to make the best judgment possible. Is it right? It works. Is it what someone else would do? Maybe not. Would it work? It might work too. There are so many scenarios that we could do out here, and then with the limited resources we have, it's all we can do. Right now, if I had people, I swear I would love to have them everywhere because we need it. We need it desperately. We needed it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing this for 35, 36 years. I've dedicated my entire life, just like some of the other people around here. I've known Earl since I started. And we are trying our best, but we are falling very far behind. And that's where we're doing this fire study. The volunteer fire departments came together and said, look, we need to do something. We need money. We need more people. We need help. We can't afford to replace our trucks. So the commission, I said, well, let's look at a fire study. Let's talk to you guys. We're doing it way different. I wasn't involved in the EMS study, but we're obviously doing it different than we did then. And here in Jefferson County, like I said, my guys do fire and EMS. Berkeley's not like that. Some other places are still not like that. So if you get money and you get 2 firefighters here, guess what? They're also EMTs and paramedics. There's going to be an ambulance back here. So we're fixing 2 things at one time. So really, I just ask for everyone's patience. No one has literally just been, I haven't just said, no, I don't care about the mountain. It's just not it. I remember when this ambulance service started on this mountain. I remember when I first started independent, we ran an ambulance all the way from Independent to Shannon. That was a long time. It was great when some of those guys, Lenny Lehman, and then came along and started the ambulance service up here. It's had a huge benefit. But at the end of the day, we've got to figure out how to get more revenue. And that means more people and means you can keep your station up. You can get your trucks replaced. So we move this entire system along. Hopefully.
There's a couple of things to look at. Chief? So one of the things I knew I would be getting crossed that time and time again, was I involved in any way in your decision making for where these units would go?
Nope. Absolutely my study on mine.
Okay, there's a couple things to look at. Lisa and I talked about staffing, and that's really what tonight's conversation is all about, because the staffing problem is huge problem, and it's gonna take a massive change in how we do things fundamentally. Guess the good news, if you want to put it that way, is we're certainly not the only county that's facing that problem. Every rural county across America is facing the same problem. Your population's increasing, you cannot rely on just volunteers all the time, as you guys are saying. So that's something we're talking about tonight. What we don't have on our agenda tonight, but has come up with this question about the ambulance service is also location. One of the things that we changed as a commission, earlier this year, we raised our impact fee for bringing in money to help pay for the service. But you need to have a location for where you want to build new buildings. In order to raise that revenue, you have to put it on something called capital plan, CIP. Yeah, CIP, for capital planning. I think a next step for the commission is to work with this community, and to talk about, where that could be on the map that would serve, your needs. Not for something that can happen in the next 6 weeks, but for our long-term planning as we raise, revenue through our impact fees. To find the right location. If we look to build out Carnesville, Minnesota.
As Chief Stein mentioned, we came a long way. I too, with Chief Stein and I was born and raised here. I remember back in the day, there was only three stations that had ambulance. Or the one had
Four, one, and
three.
Four, and one there.
not bigger than
and four.
Yeah, 1, 3, and 4. Yeah, 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
At one point in time, we had 3 stations that had ambulance, and that was it. And they were all volunteer.
Right.
And but we came
A
along.
lot less housing though.
Yeah, we've had a lot less. I agree there. But that's why we're working on this for. To Josh's point about being totally depleted, that's why we're here for. That's why the volunteers have came to us and they asked us to run a levy a year ago. And that's where we're trying to get some answers, like what do we really need? Because you're right, if we have a major fire, everything's depleted. And well, if we have firefighters in there, we have a dedicated career fire guys, then they'll go out on call. We'll have some ambulance still sitting back in the station or sitting in the county somewhere, maybe not that particular station. But that's what we're here tonight to hear, from the fire side of the world. And, just to put it in perspective, one 24-hour crew is roughly costing salaries about $700,000. I mean, figure up everything. So as we grow,
For one?
because there's eight person on a crew, 124 crew.
That's probably actually a little low.
Okay,
Yeah, it's probably closer to 8 or 850.
okay,
Our salaries are not competitive, so.
Right.
yeah, so I'll go by Chief Stein's numbers. He's saying 850 for one 24-hour crew. So as the benefits to live in West Virginia, we don't pay a lot of taxes. And we're not Loudoun County where we're, Reagan, Indiana, or a couple of other counties that's to the east of us. We're doing the best we can with what we have to work with, and that's why we're having a conversation about a levy, because in West Virginia, you just don't pay a lot of tax on it. So I'll give it over to somebody else that wants to say something. Got some hands going up now.
My name is Paul Bishop. I've been living here on the mountain for a couple of years and been coming up here for about 10 years now. I went through this in the early 80s with Prince William County. I was volunteer, and one of the things that they went through, this very same problem, was lack of volunteers to respond in the daytime. So you started to see a shift of, okay, let's bring an ambulance in during the daytime. But volunteers staff at night. You guys went slash and burn. Shut down all the ambulances, make them all paid. You could have found a balance that allowed the existing crews that could volunteer ambulances to stay in staff. Keep them certified and let them run.
Yeah.
And then supplement them with paid staff. Also, we've seen thousands of houses being built in this county. Where's all that money going at $35 a pop? Somebody's gotta be accounting for that, because if he hasn't gained budget since 2020, and I've seen thousands of houses built since 2020, where's the money? Something's not right. Overall, our taxes have gone up.
I
You
can
know,
trust
people
people.
have had to pay more taxes with the thousands of houses built in this county, so there's gotta be, but long term, near term and long term. There's a way to get there, and other counties have done it. I said, Prince William County, Virginia, I was there, we saw it happen, and it was a slow shift. Bring in paid ambulances first, let the volunteers keep us, bring in paid staff in the daytime. And let the volunteers keep running at night. And you can do that, and they were able to manage to do it without totally bankrupting the county. So there's ways to get there, but can't just slash and burn and really destroy an existing service. And then replace it full volume without some kind of a plan. And that, it seemed to me that was a failure on your part.
I appreciate the criticism, thank you, we're listening, we're taking notes. On the tax issue, where does the money go when a new neighborhood comes in? Well, this is gonna sound pretty funny, in an unpleasant way, but it's true. When we have new residential developments, we're not gaining in taxes. We're actually getting deeper in a hole. Because the taxes are so low in West Virginia, which we like, for the record, we like them. But the taxes are so low in West Virginia that when you have new people moving in, the demand for services is actually growing faster than the increase in tax revenue. So what that means is, as residential development is coming in, the problem's actually getting worse. So what we had in this past election, and 4 of the 5 commissioners are new commissioners, and our most senior commissioner has been saying this for years. Now, all 5 commissioners agree, we have growth in Jefferson County that's out of whack, it's not balanced. We have way too much residential, and it's not balanced with commercial. So we need to change that balance.
Sir, so can I expand on that? To your point, I hear you. I serve on the planning commission. There are legal constraints to shutting it down, as you said, because about 80% of the growth in our county is actually within municipalities, which the county commission has no control over. So the city of Branson, Charlestown, Harpers Ferry, Bolivar, Shepherdstown, they all have their own zoning ordinance. And with each zoning classification, they're allowed a certain density. So once something is upzoned and they have those vested rights, there's really legally nothing I can do as a commissioner. Now, what we did do was we raised impact fees. That's a legal methodology that we can use to absorb more capital for the growth in our county.
What did you raise them to?
Excuse me?
What did you raise them?
So about
The
9.
question was, what did we raise the impact?
Yeah, so they were just under 2,000 per single family dwelling, and now they're just under about 9,500. So we aggressively raised the impact fees. With that, with your point, I can tell you, I've been doing on the planning commissions, everything I can to try to steward and support commercial growth, with upzoning of parcels. So as an example, there's a new upzoning request along 9 and Midtown Road, and we were able to, hopefully, we're in the process getting it into general commercial instead, which will be healthcare, pad sites, commercial development, low impact, but good things that this county needs. And the tax burden that we get, the real estate taxes that we get from commercial versus residential are about double. So we will hopefully balance out our top heavy residential. And that's one of my main goals for running for county commission is to focus on land use issues and create a healthier environment for Jefferson County.
You're not running for county commission, you're on county commission, there's a difference.
And that's what I'm serving for, man.
And one of the other areas we've all talked about is commercial growth. This county has been very stagnant with commercial growth. We had a development authority that was not working towards development. They were focusing on small business, which was great. But that doesn't bring the tax base in. So a lot of what we've done is vacated the seats on the development authority and replaced them with people from all different walks of life that are focused towards commercial growth. And we have taxed them with, bring business here. We need this business growth here to help support public safety. And that is our top priority.
I'll just give you some facts that explain the depth of the problem here. 10 of our top 10 employers in Jefferson County, 9 out of 10 do not pay tax. We love them. We love universities. We love CDP. It's fantastic. We're so glad that they're here. That's a wonderful thing. But they don't pay taxes, right? So that makes it really tough for us as a county to provide those services that we need. We're gonna need some new developments here that are commercial, that pay at a higher tax rate, not the residential. To get that balanced growth, and that's, so as Chief Mood said, that's what we're.
To the lady that that's resident from what I'm trying to. Yeah, we're talking.
Actually, y'all go.
The impact fees, so there's a known, and regarding the impact fees. So you just raised those last year, correct?
This year.
Within the past year?
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody that lives here saw the growth coming and happening from 2020 on. What happened during that gap? Why didn't we raise those fees earlier and foresee this humongous growth that came in, especially when many of them were already on the plans 20 years ago?
I would be happy to answer that because, it wouldn't be fair to the other commissioners, I don't think, because I was the only commissioner here when it was lowered. The only portion that was lowered back in 2021 was the portion that the schools received. The schools was taken down to $1. Fire EMS was moved up to 100%, so we kind of switched around a little bit. I believe at that time we were only collecting 80% for fire EMS. So we moved that to 100 and took the school down to $1. And the reason that was done, there was a study that was completed back in 2021, and we had a declining enrollment in our schools. At that time, I think we had it was averaging about 100 kids a year, a decline, 100 students per year declining every year. In order for us to collect an impact, there has to be an impact. If we continue to collect an impact fee when there wasn't an impact, we would have got sued. And it would have been a mess. So the commission voted to take the portion of the schools down to $1 until we saw a positive enrollment back into the school system. That happened this year. This is the first time in 8 years that there has been a positive enrollment in the school system. This year, they enrolled 132 kids extra from the previous year. They're still down a total of around 600 to 700 kids. So we still have 600 to 700 empty seats in our school system. But that is why we paused the school portion and raised it back up. Does that answer your question?
No, because there's more services affected than just schools. Everybody knows that fire and rescue is a big part of services that new residents are gonna need. If we knew these growth patterns were on the books 20 years ago, and we knew that these developments were planned out many years ago, and they just started up within the past 5 years because everybody was making their move west. We knew this was coming. Why didn't we collect more money as soon as we saw that these were becoming active developments again? And what is there anything we can do to collect from those that got in on the lower rates and took advantage of the fact that it was at a lower rate and brought all these houses in, and now they're out now that the rates gone back up again?
Well, there's a company called Fisher Vice that does the study. And we can only collect for the impact that's there. We can't predict 20 years down in the future and collect for a higher impact because we think 20 years from now, we're gonna have a higher population. They will not allow that. And any numbers that they give us, they have to back that up in case we go to court over some issue with the fee. So we can only basically set the fee per the law. And the law doesn't allow us to collect a huge fee because we think 20 years from now, we're gonna have more growth.
But what I will say is the study, and I understand what you're coming from, the study that we most recently had completed in the late fall and fully voted on early this year. We, as a commission, voted to fully fund what was suggested. So, the Tischler Vice study, that was we gave 100% of what the recommendation was across all sectors. So both for residential development and commercial development.
And those funds have to be used for capital improvement. We cannot use those funds for labor.
And just to give you an idea, the impact fee increased from 1,944 to 9,805. And we're talking EMS specifically, the amount collected per house was 119, and that increased to $509 per house. Which is high now, but we lost on that period that happened years ago. I'm just coming from a taxpayer that has been here for many years. I love it here. I came here not because of the low taxes, but because of everything else that's offered. We're seeing a lot of change that people that have lived here a long time don't necessarily support. And we feel like our taxes are going up as a result of all this growth that we didn't want in the first place. I'm just telling you from the perspective of a resident that's been here for years, that it feels like we now have to pay more taxes for services that were predictable, that come along with building all these houses. If you foresaw the houses coming, why didn't you foresee all the services needing increases?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a lack of foresight. I think, since we joined the commission, the first thing we did, I'm seeing shrugs, I'm seeing laughs. Dave ran for office. He knows this issue very well. The first thing,
The gentleman sitting over here just said 30, 40 years he has had a shortage of EMS people. You already had the shortages when you, sir, nominated or made a motion to reduce those impact fees. I was at that meeting. I'm sorry. I'm like her. I want to see this commission anticipate the needs we have for future growth. And not just, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but are we not still paying about 50% of the recommended ambulance fee? It was originally supposed to be $88 and it came out at 40. No, it came out at 42 and got reduced to 41. Why are we not collecting the full amount that we're paying these companies to recommend that we collect?
so the point was raised, just repeating it, the microphone for people who are listening online. Why are we not collecting the full ambulance fee that was recommended by consultants from years ago, which is double the rate right now?
Yes.
It's over double. So initially, when I was on the ESA board and we were working on setting up the ambulance fee, we started at a number at 120 a household. The commission did not like that at the time. We proposed a good, better, best, which is what they had asked for. And it was either 65, 75, and 85, or 60, 70, and 80, and what you would get different for each one. And the commission at that point in time, which none of us were sitting here, said that's entirely too much, and we're gonna make it $40. And then other commissioners decided they wanted to work towards reducing it and getting rid of it. After a year or two on there, they looked at it and said, we can't quite do that. We'll take it back up, but we're not gonna go all the way to 40, we're gonna take it to 39. Well, while I am not a fan of raising taxes, very conservative, there's also common sense. And I think that as we look at it, I think it's something that needs to be reevaluated. And it's something that every year, when the ESA was in place, they had an ambulance fee meeting every December. I sat in that meeting every year because I was at every meeting. And it was the chief or two that were sitting there, and almost nobody from the public came in. There were no presentations as to why it should be higher, and it just stayed where it was.
So I just want to get back to my point about lack of foresight. I would push back on that. I don't think it's a lack of foresight that's the problem. When I joined the commission, I was appointed to a vacant seat. The first thing I did was make a public statement saying we have a fundamental problem in Jefferson County, and that is that we do not have balanced growth. It's too much residential, it's not enough commercial, and our tax rolls were screwed up because of it. Then I got elected to a seat, and the campaign that I ran was, we do not have balanced growth. The number one problem is too much residential, not enough commercial. Then I got into office, first thing we did was we raised the impact fees. The second thing we did was we completely changed our approach to commercial growth in Jefferson County, and hopefully we're gonna see a turnaround. It takes some time, it's not quick. I'll give you some examples of how we've approached the residential growth in the county. Like Commissioner Keys said, the vast majority of this is happening in our cities and municipalities, cities and towns. Not up to a vote from the county commission. So the question is, all right, well, what are we gonna do when we have a rezone? Well, we had one just a couple months ago, and we told the developer, look, we're trying to keep density low. Can you promise us that you're gonna build at a certain rate or lower? And we actually had that person write in to the, I'll just call it a contract, over the second, right into the contract, it'll be this density or lower. So we put in a density cap. That had not been done before. We recently had somebody come in for a rezoning, and they said, we want to do residential and commercial at the same time. And we said, well, how about just commercial? And he said, okay, all right, I'll do that. All right, if you're gonna do just commercial, we'll approve it. And that's gonna come back before us for final approval in the next few weeks. So it's not the case that we don't recognize the problem. It's actually the opposite. I'm speaking for myself. I would say, I think it's the number one problem in the county. And I think as a whole, this commission is definitely looking at this and how it's manifested in different ways. One of them is the future of the fire service. But then we're also looking at our development authority, like you mentioned. Our rules and regulations, our ordinances. You mentioned wanting to rewrite some of these ordinances. They're putting in too much red tape to block businesses from coming in. There's a whole a set of ways that we can look at it, and this is just one.
One recommendation is stop the annexing. I mean, we shouldn't be seeing ransom police officers in Carneysville. I mean, now that money goes to ransom. So my question to you guys, if a house with these townhome communities being built in Charlestown, ransom, on that impact fee, are you guys getting all that money or some of that going to the city?
We collect it all.
Okay. All right, I wasn't sure on that. But yeah, the annexing, I mean. You've been here a long time like myself. Look how far Charlestown has annexed back toward the mountain. I mean, I wanna say, what, Higglytown Road almost? And now Crosswinds and those developments and these new developments, like around Citizens Fire Company, they used to all be county, now it's city. So I feel like as a county person, we're getting cut out, you know. The city's making out. Is there a way we can make the city pay more money toward fire? I don't know. Just a thought. Another thing I want to run by you, has anybody looked at maybe contracting EMS, privatizing it to save money? I mean, you got 5 Mexicans. What kind of money could you save doing that? Just a thought, something to look into. If you're telling me it costs that kind of money for one 24-hour shift, it's a lot of money. I mean, maybe we could look at contracting EMS and switching the other guys to pay fire. Just a thought, something to look into.
Yes, as far as, I'm trying to answer your questions, as far as the annexing, if it's done on by the landowner, they want to annex, it's very little the county can do. Now, Charlestown tried to do a mass annex, before I came on the commission. And the commission, sued Charlestown and stopped it. It was initiated by the town, not by the landowners. And they won court. So, the commission did take that portion to the court. So we have very little say so or somebody else's land rights. It's their land rights and they can be in the city if they want to, they just have to petition for it. I don't know about having contract services for ambulance. I have no idea what it costs. I don't know.
It works in southern West Virginia. I know we're not southern West Virginia, but it works.
Yeah.
Just something to look into. If we're trying to save money, but we need services, something. We gotta have more than 5. So for some of you that don't know, when you guys cut the ambulance, we went from and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but we went from 13 ambulances in this county to what, 6? 5 or 6 now?
He needs a microphone.
Every time.
We have EMS though. Let's see exactly what happens.
We went from 13 volunteer ambulances that had no guaranteed staffing.
Well, we paid for everything. Volunteers for.
I understand the question.
Go ahead, chief.
We went from 13 volunteer ambulances, many who were staffed 95% of the time, on average, by career staff, to what is 524 and 112 staff primarily were staffed by career personnel. You know, there's 1,000 different ways to crack this egg, and at the end of the day, it's all money. It takes people. It doesn't matter who owns the ambulance, everybody still needs staff. Are we gonna get back to that point where we have 13 again? Well, I'm sure at some point, because if we put staffing in every station's gonna have an ambulance. And it's not just having an ambulance, we have to have backup ambulances, because those things break down. Earl knows from when he had them, they break down on a regular basis. The number of money pits. It's just like having a car, same thing. They get beat to death. And so right now we own 10. 6 are staffed during the day, 4 are backup. On a regular basis, 3 of those broke down. Or out for service, general service or whatever. So there's a lot of cost of business. No matter which way you look at it. If you're doing, the best thing we're doing here though, is we've moved forward with a combination model with fire and EMS. Because doing it the other way, like in Berkeley, they have firefighters that are getting paid to just do fire, and they have ambulances that are just getting paid to do ambulance, and they don't jump from one to the other. In Back Creek, they have I think they're getting 24-hour fire crew, but they have a 12-hour ambulance. And those guys are separate. They don't move from one to the other. So does that really make sense? Doesn't seem like financially it's a good idea. Here, we've chosen not to take that model. Everybody does the same job. So we hope we're moving forward in the right way, but if we can gain some ground on this fire side, because we know that's a big problem, it's gonna help the EMS side along the way. That's all I can say.
I guess I have a question for the chief of the station. I know we talked a lot about ambulances, but I want to learn a little bit about the fire too. On your fire side, I mean, this is our fourth meeting. Fifth meeting. And we're going to every firehouse and we're taking in questions and we're trying to learn what is on your fire side. I know we talked about ambulance a lot, but on your fire side, what is your biggest need? Is it that you see here on the mountain? What do you need the most? Is it you need more water supply? Do you need more trucks? Do you need more staffing? I want to ask you those questions. I'll be happy to give you this mic.
So it's like a Monopoly game. You need a little bit of everything. So it's like a Monopoly game. You need a little bit of everything. Okay, we need water, but if you don't have bodies to pull a truck, you go. Water's not going to do you no good. We have, and I'm thankful that we have about 18 volunteers that actually hang out here and run calls. Most of them working, some of them downtown the city. But they want to run calls and do stuff. But during the day, it's like everybody else. These guys have got to get down the road to work. I work for the West Virginia Department of Highways. We get a fire, I can't leave to come get a fire truck out because it's my job. Do I get mad? Yes, I do, but it's my job. Equipment wise, I think we're pretty well set for equipment wise. We have more equipment than what we've ever had to operate with. We have rescue agents. We have UTVs that we can do the mountain fires and stuff with now, and it's been a blessing. We've been actually working very hard to get where we need to be at. We have a nice station. We have a station completely redone. So I mean, it's just things that need is bodies. And I know, the county can't give us all bodies because it's a money issue. Everybody knows that it's a money issue. But on the other side of the fence, we do the best we can do as volunteers in our station. And, you know, all the other stations that have paid staff, if it wouldn't be for the paid staffing, see, now I'm gonna just say it, the trucks would not move. Just the bottom line. I know you guys hear a lot during the day, but I have a brush truck responding with 2 people. There's a piece of equipment on the road, it's got 250 gallons of water on it, they put an air pack on there, they go try to help do stuff. Something is better than nothing. But, you know, we beat the dead horse on impact fees and taxes and stuff. You know, our county is overgrown. We have the largest bedroom development on the East Coast. You know, a third of the population is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. You know, Shenandoah, as we talk about, 99.9% of the calls we have is in Shenandoah. There's one way in and one way out. Yeah. What in the hell are you gonna do when that mountain catches on fire and we can't get people out of there? They're gonna burn up. Then who's responsible for that? The sheriff and me. So fire service needs a lot of assistance in a lot of different ways, other than just bodies. We need roads. The road is overtaken. We had a wreck on Mission Road last night. And it was shut down for, I guess, an hour to get that second call out, that was on the stop. And traffic backs all the way back up to 115. Yeah. You know? It's pathetic, but there's nothing you can do about it. People buying homes here, we're getting the money from the taxes, we get the, you know, money from ambulance fees and stuff. But the fire service in this county today needs bodies, which you're not gonna get bodies unless you get more money. Which money don't grow on trees, but did, we will all be rich. So therefore, the needs for us is getting some staffing to help during the day, even at times we're pretty decent. I would never plunge staffing down at all, but me personally, and I know a lot of people off, but I don't care. The big stations in this county that should have the most help and the most bodies depend on JCESA and the county to take care of their stuff, and they don't do their job. I don't like saying that, but I bet you $100, if you ask Mike Sign, he can't deny, because it's true. It's true facts. We're a little old mountain company, and we tried to beat the doors down and whatever we can do, and we do a good job at it. So as far as what we need at Blue Ridge Fire Company, help is a good thing. Equipment wise, I think we're good with equipment. Yeah, we have older equipment, but we take very good care of it. It's pump tested, hose tested, everything's done with the trucks as it's supposed to be, and I'm very proud of what we got. When I started here 40 years ago, we didn't have that. You can see back on the wall, we had it right back there. And now it's done all changed. We're proud of what we had a nice station. We thankful for what the county does for us, the money you guys give us, it helps. It's just bodies. And I know money's not gonna grow on trees to take and make it happen. And I honestly say it tonight. I don't see a future fire service in this county, full fire service for the next 5 to 10 years. Unless there's a God's miracle overnight. It's not gonna happen. Right. Oh.
Thank you.
Good.
And he could speak into.
Sure.
Like, so people.
I'm just thinking, I'm not trying to go backwards here, but is there a way that we could maybe, to help out the EMS, allow volunteers to somehow start supplementing? Give you an example, my son's 16, he's finishing firefighter 1. He's like, Dad, I wanna be an EMT. Well, son, EMTs right now can't run unless you're paid in Jefferson County, so what's the use of taking that? I mean, that's what I'm saying, you got future young people coming up that wanna try to help. Can we look at that? I mean, I'm just throwing out something.
I've asked that question with Flexia, just gonna come to middle way at some point. You know, really know for sure. And I've not gotten an answer as of yet. We have people who are certified and cleared providers in the county. And like I said, I've not gotten an answer yet.
When you decertify the volunteers through JCSA, when they drop the certification, all the stations had to shut down. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, Prince William County went through they, partial. Kept the volunteers, let them keep running where they could. But, and everybody knows that, yeah, volunteers are a problem. They got a problem. Volunteers are a problem. They've been becoming a problem for a lot of years, and it's gotten worse over the last several years. But the minute you decertify a service, won't provide their doctor to sign off that says, this ambulance is certified, did you lose your volunteers, you lose your certificate capability?
Yeah. No.
You can go back to that by allowing the volunteers to purchase ambulances or put them back in service and have certified people. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than an empty station. Way more.
So the county has taken over the ambulance service, there won't be going backwards.
Why? Why?
Because the county has taken over it and the fire companies to go back to take that over. I would like you to find one that would say yes to that.
I'm not asking them to take it over, I'm asking them to supplement. I bet there are volunteer stations that would be willing to put the effort in to have their trained people at an ambulance to supplement the county. I'm not talking about taking it back.
I don't disagree with you in reference to having the volunteers assisting more. And that's why I've asked that question, and I'm anxiously awaiting an answer. I've asked.
It's something that this commission can take up and change the path that we've gone down.
I've asked that question several times, and I'm still awaiting an answer because there are still quite a few volunteers in this county that are not employed by the county that could assist in different ways.
And we'll be willing to.
Chief Sutton.
Okay.
I'm not the only sole answerer there. It's also up to the medical director.
Right, and Chief just said that this has to be the chief medical director has to weigh in on this as well.
Yeah.
I was just saying that in the microphone.
Absolutely, yeah. Very good. I want to go back to the fire levy question. Prince William County, where I came from, many years ago, they had a fire levy that was determined by each station's needs. So the station, every year came up with a budget of what they needed, and then that local area that station served paid that fire levy. It's a great way to be able to supplement our budgets in a fire station. We're a volunteer company too.
Was that Prince William?
Prince William County, Virginia. It was a great way for a station and the county to collect money to support the fire service in that area based on that area's needs. So it's something to look at when you start doing your study is, not necessarily that fire levy is the same across the whole county. It can be based on the station's requirements, station's needs. This year they need a new truck, next year they don't. So, you do the levy based on the needs of that station and the responsibility of the volunteer staff that runs that station to come up with an annual budget and submit it. What they need, a way to go about it.
I've always said that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and to your point, I agree with you. Because everybody around us has had the same problem, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to come up with something new. And, one time a day, Loudoun County was all volunteer. Now, I don't know, whether 80-90% career, maybe,
What's up?
are they 80 or 90% career now? Career?
March.
Or more? Yeah, at least 80. Berkeley County is all volunteer, and then they, now all of their ambulances are career, and now they have career firefighters. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we just have to look around what's going around us and just try to figure it out. But I agree, it's not rocket science, we don't have to, we just gotta look at our neighbors and learn from them. If you could speak into a mic, because,
With all due respect, is that not why we hire consultants to do that looking around? Is that not part of the study?
that's exactly right, isn't it?
So that study is due to be out when it's.
certificate of
Didn't listen to what they told you to do. And how is that working out for the county right now? This is a study. We, the taxpayers, paid $45,000. We had all these meetings. Now, I told you straight up right then that it wasn't going to work. You're not doing it right. And where are we now?
I'd love to hear your thoughts, Mr. Tab. Where do you think we are now?
I don't know the true meaning of hell, but I think we're pretty freaking close. People are dying. Services are not as good as they used to be. With a volunteer system of over 100+ years, the county commission did not listen. They didn't want to pay for it. You had the local businesses supporting the fire companies better than the county commission. They took advantage of it. The fire companies were subsidizing the county commission. And the people did the volunteering. They did the fundraising. They took care of themselves. And the county benefited from it. And the law is still structured just like the sheriff department. The county is responsible for all of it. And at some point in time, you're going to be challenged. And until you have the right people making the right decisions that were offered to you 4, 3, and 2 years ago, written a whole lot better than that fit study. It didn't cost you nothing. It would work. You took the ARPA money and you double, triple, and quadruple on paper. Still got all the copies of it. You bought some ambulances 3 times. You bought the medical equipment and all the other stuff 5 and 6 times. You spent over $10 million. Well, maybe you didn't, but I still have the study and everything that was done, and it's all there in print. You can't hide it. Just like on Monday, the local 5351 said, where'd that $750,000 go? Haven't heard the answer to that yet. Where did it come from? And where did it go? I mean, these things are real simple. And the answer is, and it's already been said here a couple times tonight, well, we need to learn more information. We have professionals. Why do you think that the fire companies have the stations and stuff that they have? These are the people that were going down the city and volunteered when they weren't working, because they're the ones that built the ones down in Chantilly and Northern Virginia and all that stuff down there being paid. These were the guys that built them. They didn't need a contractor. They didn't need a study. They didn't need this. They were putting them up down in Virginia, and they were modeled to what we have here today. And they are the state of the art. How many buildings do you have? You're supposed to be a fire company. Here you got your license to be one. You don't even have a truck. And someone else stopped the $150,000, good, bad, or otherwise. One person stop what the county commission had already approved. Stop. 5 people voted on it, 1 person stopped. So until you guys settle down and really, I can bring a better word, get it where it hurts, take it. You guys have something.
Thank you. And you had mentioned that it was working really well with the volunteers for a long time. Let me just ask, in your view, we're talking about 10, 20 years down the line. Do you think that the county should continue to rely on volunteers to provide volunteer service for fighting fires? Or do you think that's not sustainable in the long term?
With the ambulance takeover, the browbeating, throwing away their experience, their equipment, their ability, their dedication. Volunteer across the United States, average age is 62 years old. Just think about that. Volunteer, 62 years old. This is not just a problem here. It's actually around the world. You have people that can't afford to volunteer and come online when they have family, house payment, electric. Nobody's helping them out with their fuel or some of the gear or their expenses. I've promoted 20 years ago to the county commission. Give them a stipend. Not cost anything. $1 an hour for service off of your property tax. You could do it. What that does, it doesn't add back to what goes to the state. You get 40%, they get 60%. You give a stipend, it all comes back to the county. You have to cut the state out. The state is not doing what it needs for us. They're taking a too high percentage. This has been going on for years. That you have 10 counties producing 90% of the revenue. The other counties, you have another 15, 16 that break even. That means you're in the 30 counties plus that, lack of better words, subsidy. They're subsidy. It's just the way it's been for years.
It probably will continue. No, I think you're absolutely right. We're one of only 5 so-called growth counties in the entire state. So the challenges that we face are our dear friends in Charleston. They're looking at other problems. We're not looking at our problems. In fact, they don't even think we have problems. They say, oh, they're rich up there. They can handle all that themselves. That's their attitude. I totally understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you this. We talked about staffing. How about equipment? What's the long-term vision for that? How do we pay for that?
That is a national problem. You have our friends down in DC in the lobbies to thank for that. You have a federal mandate that's not funded. Everyone in the United States needs to jump up in the air and smack these people upside the head. It's fine to have a piece of equipment that every 10 or 15 years needs to be replaced. If it's in heavy use, okay. If it's not, then they mandate that you have to spend at least for the new engine, transmission, and pump, piping, and then $300,000-400,000, and then you can run it for 5 more years. I understand it, but it wasn't done right. And the federal government mandated, and now you have all this stuff. I got an engine with 13,000 miles on it that I am ready to go, fully equipped. Why? Because I can't pretend on the county to take care of me. I have an ambulance, and I have air testing. Why? Because they got all phased out, and there's nothing wrong. It'll pass all these things. So this is what I grew up with. So the community took care of this because the county commission won. County commission threw away what we already had. You were, not you personally, but some of you. It was offered that they only needed $2 million a year. You supply the people. We'll take care of everything else we already got. 15 ambulances, 13 in play, 2 on reserve. Almost all of them paid for. All the stations do. I don't think what y'all understand is how much equipment and buildings these volunteer companies have in their possession, in their paid for. We're talking about over $300 million. That's concerning. And y'all threw it away. Why aren't people, this is the first time any commission has ever asked, this is paramount, has ever asked what my is. But yet I've been broadcasting you guys for a long time. And about half of the commissioners that I broadcasted them to are already passed. They didn't listen, all not listening. So why don't you have a board of people like myself and the chiefs and the other people and the secretary that all produce all of this information? They got statistics, they got everything laid out. I mean, I run a multi-million-dollar operation. And why aren't you asking me? Oh, because I tell the truth. We'll probably you guys are good. Don't call you names. Don't call y'all liars. Like y'all called somebody else. It's a shame. Why aren't we working together?
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that's part of the reason we're here right now. I mean, there's a suggestion to set up a board of experts. That's something we can think about. What we're starting with is town hall meetings at each of the fire companies here, for not just a select board, but from everybody, and to open it up to everybody. We do not have a set pathway forward for decision making, other than to say at some point it's gonna come up to a vote for those who are elected, because it's a democracy, that's how we do it. But gathering input from a board of experts certainly on the table. And but let's hear other thoughts and comments.
Speaking about fire. Speaking about fire engines, I know back in 2000, when I joined the fire service, I was first rescue engineer. I want to say we paid a little over 400,000 for it. That same truck today is, like, I'm being told 1.4 million. And it's taken these guys three to 4 years now to get one delivered. So that's something else we might be wanting to think about, since it's taken a while to get trucks built. I mean, and all this, over $1 million for this one now. I mean, that's a big jump.
We're definitely gonna have to think about that, and one of the comments that I've heard, and I'm repeating the point in each of the town halls, here from everybody, the experts in the room. One of the comments that I've heard is and I think it's, you touched on this, right? The county, if you look at what the assets of the volunteer fire departments, the county has, I'll quote, enough equipment already. Do you agree with that statement? Do you disagree? What are y'all thoughts on the equipment that's in Jefferson County? Not the equipment that's owned by the county government. I'm talking about the stuff that's in our county, owned and run by volunteers. We have the equipment.
Yeah. We're only talking about fire now.
Okay.
We're only talking about fire.
So for Blue Ridge Fire Company, I mean, I had enough equipment for myself. I mean, it's not brand new. But it's works, it does the job. I mean, they're in landing zone right now in the rescue mission. So, I mean, I can't speak for all the other departments, but all the other departments have more what we have, and we make do with what we got.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and a lot of people don't realize the mountain is a whole different monster. I mean, you get 3 inches of snow up here, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, and you ain't been running ambulances from Charlestown to the mountain, when you get these 48 inches of snow, or these 18 inches of snow. And you're gonna talk about response time, that's where you're gonna run into the problem. Because I can tell you right now, West Virginia Department of Highways is short about 9 guys on each side. They have good workers now. Well, they have any good workers now. Well, I'm a good worker. But taking care of what we gotta take care of is, and if they call the ambulance calls and says they need help, we go help. As part of the state road, but equipment wise with fire. I mean, I think our county's got a lot of equipment in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of good, but, you know, like I said, my stuff is old, but it's serviced, it's pump tested. And I will take any of my old trucks today and go against any brand new piece of equipment we got in Jefferson County. There's a lot of confidence.
On that point, we're looking 10 or 20 years down the road. Some people are suggesting more collaboration across volunteer county. What are your thoughts on maintenance for equipment? What's the best case scenario? What's your dream scenario for how maintenance is done in Jefferson County in 2036?
David Tad, because he's been doing it for free.
He said free.
He said free.
He said free.
Alright, it's on the record.
Alright. So David Tad does take care of our equipment for us. And I have a guy that comes from Moorfield, which comes to Citizens and does all the pump testing and stuff. But 2036, who the hell knows what kind of farm it's gonna have? Everything's electronic now. I mean, it's not like what I got. Everything is, yeah, you're right. You have to have 45 batteries in it just to run. You know, so
That's
the
more
cost is gonna be probably 4 or 5 times the amount it is right now.
electric.
You know, I mean, Mike's got older trucks like we got, but we gotta use what we got to use. I mean, we don't have millions of dollars to go out and buy new trucks. You know, they
That's
want
right.
you to change them out every 10 years. Who can change a truck out every 10 years? Nobody. You know, I mean, I know we can. And as I say, I'll pump these trucks any day with any new piece of equipment here. They're servers, they're makers, man comes here, does the pump testing and stuff, same with Citizens. And if there's an issue, we take care of it right there and there. But 2036. Now, I'll probably won't even be here in 2036, but I would venture to say that there's gonna be a lot of electric vehicles, maybe all. I mean, they're always starting with buses and stuff. I don't know how far trucks are gonna go that way, but I'm sure they will find it out.
But you're correct, and that's part of what David Tavis said, and unfunded mandate. NFPA can say that X number of years, you need to replace that engine. Well, that's nice. You're not writing me a check to do it.
Right.
And those apparatus can last a lot longer. When you have companies that are slower, not, including like, independent Citizens, Jefferson, that run a lot more volume, they're gonna need something that's a lot newer. You get the other companies in the county can buy something that's a little bit older and still in good condition and get a lot of years out of that. And that's what most of us have done. And it works very effectively. But one of the problems that we see as we're going through is the fundraising effort that it takes to be able to survive. Little way, we do every Saturday, we've got bingo, we did a sportsman bash a few weeks ago, and that's a big part of how we survive.
Equipment would be capital expenditures. Why can't the impact fees be used to purchase equipment for the volunteer department?
Because that's an expansion of service, and that's not, it does not cover replacement.
So like in a school, as an example, the impact fee study that was just done said that we needed a third high school. It would pay for an expansion on an existing, so say Jefferson High School, they're both at capacity. Jefferson High School, if we expanded that footprint, the impact fee could cover that expansion, but it can't pay for renovation or replacement. So just like that, it can be applied for fire.
And county assets, yeah, and plus we have to own.
If it's a leased asset, we can't do.
Yeah, it,
That's the big question. That's the big question.
yeah, so. Our county administrator mentioned how the, ambulance, collection went up higher this last time than it did 2021. And I looked into that in 2021, why we could collect more fees for ambulances, for our ambulance service at that time. And, I think they went up from 100 and change to 500 change now. And that's because we did not own the ambulances in 2021. We now own the ambulances. We cannot collect an impact fee for an asset we don't own. So in 2021, we could only collect $100 fee for impact fees. And now we're collecting 500 plus and change because we own the ambulances now. That's the difference. And so we cannot collect a impact fee for a fire truck if the county does not own it.
So you can only fix what you already have, and you can't buy new stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of impact fees, that's correct.
Impact fees is just growth, paying for growth and the need of services in the county. So there's other fees that we can collect to repair what we have. But for using impact fee money, it has to be growth, paying for growth related.
So why didn't we fix the ambulances instead of getting rid of them?
So we, at that point in time, didn't own, the volunteers owned them at that point in time.
So, and also, it might be easier to explain it this way too. Our sheriff's department has 33 deputies. Let's say they all have a car. All right, and we grow. All right, say the sheriff wants to go to 35 deputies and we need 2 deputies and 2 cars. That's growth. That's new growth. We can use impact fee money, or he can, because he has control of his own money to buy 2 new cars. However, if he wants to replace 10, he cannot use impact fee money for that, for the replacement, but only for the additional growth or additional money. That's how impact fees are regulated by the law, and we have to follow the law.
So
I'm sorry, they cannot pay for deputies, no salaries, yeah, I'm just talking about the cars.
could you give money to the cities so that they can grow they don't have their own services?
Why would we give money to the cities?
Well, because.
So the cities,
Free up.
can I finish 1 second?
Yeah.
The cities are actually creating the
Yeah.
vast part of the problem.
Yes,
So I think we should be actually looking at the opposite. Instead of giving something to the city, we should be having a conversation with the city saying, wait a minute, you're creating all of this load.
100.
I think you should be helping cover it.
So is there a law that allows you to do that?
Now that I've seen this again.
So, a little information on 20 years from now, what things are gonna look like. You're gonna be forced in building with your own fire suppression.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. You can't use material that is going to burn. Have you ever heard of the hardy board? Been out for years, concrete siding. Been out for years. That's what needs to be on these homes.
It's also about 3 times as much money, so it's.
Money is-
I agree with you, but.
Money is not an object when people die in a fire. That's what needs to be done. The county commission can do that.
We can't compose,
You can put in
Building.
rules, you can do this stuff.
that's
So,
above my pay grade.
I just went to a planning and zoning and they reduced the requirement from 85 feet apart from each other with like blocks. They dropped back down to 65, can't even get equipment and stuff between the houses. That's a different problem. That's a problem. So, again, you asked an opinion on 20 years from now. The only way to help fix this problem, because you're gonna have more traffic, more people, less volunteers, less resources. Only way to fix it is to do reduction of what will burn. Comment said out in California. If you build it the same way. And it already burnt down. It's gonna burn down again.
Yeah, I actually, in my day job, 8 years ago, I helped them to rewrite. In my day job, I helped rewrite the Disaster Recovery Reform Act, which speaks directly to the issue that you're talking about. Why rebuild the same? West Virginia does not have, the building codes that you're talking about, but you're talking about implemented building codes. So that there's insulation in the building it's much more fire resistant. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and the material inside the home can't burn. We already have the technology, it's already here, it's not rocket science. The same difference between my house that was built in 1840 versus what's built today.
We actually manufacture it right here in Jefferson County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same.
So you want to talk about Rockwool? All this fire station is all Rockwool installation.
And the difference.
They donated it, right, chief?
Everything was donated.
Free.
All these walls is fireboard, inside the rooms, everything. It's fireboard, Rockwool installation. That's good.
That's a good neighbor.
So here's something I wanna say. Here's something I wanna say, and, we beat the dead horse about money. I've been in fire service for 40 years. And I've been to a lot of chiefs meetings, been a lot of meetings in this county. And we've been fighting the same devil. Without these guys, we've been fighting the same devil. For umpteen years, and we never crossed the fence. Get to the top of the fence and you get knocked right back off. So, unless these guys here is not some kind of magic, I think you're gonna climb to the top of the fence. Unless the good Lord reaches down and helps us out, I think we'll get knocked back off, because people's running out of money.
Yeah.
People don't have money. People run out. And you know what helped us here on the Blue Ridge Mountain? Or matter of fact, any, Mike Boone's area, when they build these subdivisions, this county needs to make these people put in water tanks to subsidize the fire service.
Yes.
With the amount of water for the houses that it would take to put them out in that subdivision. That would save a lot of headaches and a lot of time and stuff on trucks, equipment, and manpower. Because a lot of times now, you get a fire, you gotta run 10 miles just to get water. To where these subdivisions like Mission Ridge, I suggested this many, many years ago, and I was told, we cannot have what happens all around us. Why can't it happen here? If we would make that happen, you could see a big reduction in homeowners insurance. People's houses, if they catch on fire, it would be a whole lot easier for us than having to go all the way to Charlestown to a water plant. And you could build. And fire suppression would be, it's still high rate, but your water sources would be even better. Because if people have their homeowners insurance knocked down, they're willing to give you an extra $1 or $2 because they got a little extra spend. You know what I mean? But now they can't do it because everything's so high. And then your taxes go up, everything else, everything's up with your paychecks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
But we get, as chiefs, we get letters from the county when there's a development that's gonna come in. Most of the time, by the time we get them, they're after the cutoff date. I always answer them. And one of my answers every time is exactly what Chief Kroger just said. And has it gone anywhere? No. There were openings on the planning commission. I went out and looked for a fireman and talked the fireman into letting me nominate him and interview him. He got on that board. And that's one of the things I'd like to see him work with in implementing changes in this county to help push something exactly like that.
And that's something we can do in theory,
Not
so,
having marriage, right?
yeah, so, Bruce is working on that, and it would be, the way we could do that is a text amendment to our subdivision regulation. And how things are approved, that's so cute, so that's certainly something we can look into.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, For the commission, you can look across the mountain of Loudoun County, Virginia, Royal. They already have those large tanks. So if you guys would want to just ride across the mountain, if you want to go see it, how it works. And, it seems to work out for those guys. When they have a fire, they can load their tankers pretty quick and so somewhere to start.
So we've been talking about this stuff for an hour and 40 minutes. It wasn't part of the agenda to hear about what the plan is for the study, how the study is gonna be conducted, what the goal of the study is.
Yeah,
I think it's about time to move on to that topic.
I just like to wrap with, one more question on this topic you just brought up. I'd love to ask the room before we talk about next steps. There's nearby counties here who have faced these problems 10, 20, 30 years ago. When you look around the region, in your opinion, which other counties handled this right? In the 90s, the 2000s,
Loudon.
here in Loudon?
Well, Loudoun County handled the problem right, but they had more money than anybody.
They get 4 billion a year
So
in real estate taxes as opposed to our 40 million a year.
the thing about Jefferson County, we cannot base ourselves off of every county around us because we're nowhere there. I mean, you try to do the AMA study out of Berkeley County. Well, what works for Berkeley County ain't gonna work for Jefferson County. It's a whole different community. We gotta worry about Jefferson County.
Fifth county in the 80s right now.
Gotta worry about Jefferson County.
Richmond County, Virginia, in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, was the fastest growing county in the country. Absolutely fastest growing county in the country. And we are on that kind of a path right now. So if you look back, there's people who know what happened then and know how that took place. That's a place to look back. It's not, it's the early 80s, it's not all this took place. I was part of it. I was in the county as a volunteer and running at the stations and saw what they did. And so there's data there somewhere.
Thank you. Mr. Dan, would you?
Dry hydrants came up at the chief meeting 2 months ago. That there's supposed to be money available for dry hydrants. So I got a hold of 4 engineers 2 months ago. I got a call on Wednesday. Mr. Tanner, you left a message wanting to know information about dry hydrant. Yes, ma'am. As soon as I find out, this is 4 engineers. As soon as I find out who to talk to, I'll give you a call back and let you know. That's how bad this stuff is. Dry hydrants work. The dry hydrants is already a placement of a hydrant in water that you pull up to, and then you have to tap into it. You still have to prime it, but they're not cheap. But at least you don't have to throw a hose in there and dump it in a bunch of mud and all this stuff. So that's what Earl is talking about, these types of things. Dry hydrants, utilize the water that's there. Make sure that you have hydrants if you're hooked into the city or county water. Make sure the hydrants are there and they work. And if you have enough volume, all these things are key. And if you're not watching all the P's and Q's, it's not going to work. And when you pull up with one of those things and they don't work, all you have to look at, it didn't happen that long ago, Thomason Ford. What happened at Thomason Ford Motor Company? They ran out of water. And guess what happened?
Exactly right, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is not rocket
Put
science.
trucks on the same line, trying to take it forward.
Speaking,
So you can't put 4 engines and a ladder truck on the same main fed line and expect to get the same, get the same amount of work. It doesn't work. They couldn't get enough work down that, the top of the ladder through. Because it's all tied into the same line. Everything loops together. So therefore, it doesn't work. But for some reason in this county, we don't want tankers with hydrogen areas, which I've always been a firm believer. Put a tanker behind an engine. If you don't need it, you got the extra people, but if you need it, you hit the hydrant, it doesn't work, You got 3,500 gallons of water right on the tailboard. It works. They do it in Loudoun County. Loudoun County paid, them guys run a tanker behind their engine on all the calls, but the simple fact is, it happens. You go out and you turn that hydrant, that stem breaks, you get the water. Then you gotta try to find another. It happened right in Charlestown. 33 minutes into a call, working house fire, they dispatched a tanker task force. After 4 hydrants hit and none of them were working. Right in the city of Charlestown.
Wow.
Let me tell you, folks, it happens. And when it happens, it costs money for everybody, because they look at the fire department and say, why in the hell is my house burning? Where's the water? That's not our problem. It's because no maintenance is done. You know what that hydrant is parked right here, close to Brewers Fire Company? Every month, $500 a month, I sit there in that parking lot because of maintenance. And we put it in.
So back on the Thomaston board deal, there's 2 issues yet. I helped put in the line that looped it back through, because that was a dead item. So through the city of Charleston, I worked with them and we looped it back in. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. But then the bigger problem is, what did the county do to help Thomaston forward? What did they do? Nothing. You want business? I held that company together by myself at my own expense and loaned them half of my repair shops and helped those guys out for a year at no cost. They were still in business and no one would help them. So you want your answer to commercial? You did protect the ones that are already here. So why do you want other companies to come in? Paperboard's another issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They asked for help. Didn't get it. 152 years. They had a fall, they got killed. They had a blowout of one of their compressors that blew a whole bunch of stuff through the wall and out in the road. And then they had a fire. And needed some help. Nobody would help. So don't think just bring new business in. You might want to go around and ask if anybody needs any help.
Great, thank you. And, one last question I have for this group, let me give you a show of hands. The point was raised, let's look at Loudon. Loudon brings in 4 billion, that's B, that's right, the B, 4 billion in tax revenue. 2 billion comes from data centers. So my question for the group, just show of hands, the state government in West Virginia has taken over data centers, it's not a local issue, it's a state. The state brings in data centers here to help us pay for this stuff, show of hands, is that good for the power company, or we're not sure whether we want that?
If the fire company gets,
If you get red.
if it's brought here to take and help the fire departments, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to help the whole community. But if we're not gonna get none, you can't use the fire department as a guinea pig to say, hey, we want these data centers. That doesn't work. I mean, it'd be almost like the solar plants down on Route 9. Well, we're gonna bring them in, and you guys are gonna get $100,000 a year off these solar plants, and then when it's all said and done, hey, sorry, guys, we don't have the money to pay you. Don't work.
We don't have revenue from solar yet, but yeah, we gotta.
They got all of the revenue from those data centers, we will not.
Say something.
Say what now?
Did you say that again?
I lived in Loudoun County, they collect all of the revenue and they're allowed to zone them with the state taking over our ability to build data centers. We will not get all of the revenue from the data centers, and we won't be able to decide where they go or do any zoning or any, so I don't know that that's such a great thing.
So speaking on the House Bill 2014, which was a law that was created that allows the state to supersede local zoning control as to where they're done and how they're done. So it'll have a statewide setback requirement, development standards from the state for all 55 counties. That passed unanimously in the House and Senate this past spring. Initially, the bill took all of the tax revenues to the state for specific statewide initiatives, but that was fought in the both House and Senate floor. And we got it back up to 30%, which is about 10% shy of what we would have naturally gotten from our commercial tax base system structure. Now, it's just a very different bill. It brings in a lot of different issues. There is a 10% that's shared per capita throughout the state. So a data center in Mingo County, 10% of what they get from their real estate taxes for that data center will be shared across the state per capita per person. So even though we are not a part of building that data center there, we will benefit from other data centers in a small way. But if data centers are built across the state, that can be a financial benefit to our county. But it is definitely a very different bill. And I understand, the frustration. It was changed, so we do get the tax revenue from it, but the zoning issue was not changed. So that is something to consider.
There's
I'm
an
pretty sure we
issue.
also, we lose the money for the school. That does not come back.
So the tax levy stayed, but that was something that was talked about. I believe the tax, because the levy was already voted on, that will stay in effect. So we will get the 30% for the real estate taxes to the county commission, which will then come and help everybody, as it would in any other commercial. But because the tax levy is voted by the Board of Education is already in place, that is also honored. So in addition to the 30%, we do have the Board of Education tax levy. So that money will, as far as I know, will stay.
Right, thanks for clarifying that, and just a little bit of inside information. I drove down to Charleston to testify as that bill was under consideration, and I gave the county perspective. It went from 0 to 30. That's good. Your state senator, Jason Barrett, managed the bill and negotiated the 30%. So if you know who Jason Barrett is, I'm gonna give him a call. And your Governor Morrissey supported that in the end, and that's how it passed. So a lot of local players are involved with this. Mr. Knight, can you tell us about next steps on how this group can talk to you, give you data, give you information? There's a lot of opinions in the world, but you also need some hard data. How will you be soliciting that information?
Yes, thank you. So a little bit about the study process from here. As you can see, transparency is a core tenet of what we're attempting to accomplish. So as we start to get back with some of our data, we'll come back around and get some input. We'll probably have to streamline that in some manner, whether it's a steering committee or using the existing, organizational structures that you have for representation. We'll talk about that later, but we certainly are going to be very transparent and walk through it. What we want to make sure that we do is before we start making any decisions or assumptions about the data, that we're all in agreement that that is the best data and there's no better source of data, right? So we can have confidence in discussions on what to do next with it. So that's why this stakeholder input is really important. What I also do is email the chief, which I already have, with some background-based information. Once we get through all the stakeholder meetings with all the fire departments, we'll refine that and probably add a few elements to look for, because good ideas are coming from the floor and saying, hey, you can answer this with this source of data, et cetera. So we'll refine that a little bit, but I'll also share my email and contact information with the chief, so that if any of you had anything that you wanted to bring up, that you didn't feel comfortable in this setting to do so, or comes to mind later, feel free to reach out. We want to be as open as possible. So we'll probably be back around 60 days with the source data, and continue the dialogue from that point.
So are you looking for data for the levy? Or,
No, so yes, good question. Data is a little broad, isn't it? So there's two sources of, well, actually multiple sources of data, but we're looking for CAD data to understand all the response elements. We're probably going to come back and supplement that with your ESO fire reporting data as well, because I think there's some staffing information that may be more robust than is captured in CAD. And then we'll get GIS layers for your road networks and how quickly you can get from point A to point B and all those kinds of things, to look at the county performance. That's on one side. The other side is what we're asking from each agency are things like, what are your apparatus? What year were they either purchased or manufactured? What's the maintenance cost? Those kinds of things, some high level things. Things about the staffing. How many volunteers do you have? What are their qualifications? And really what we're trying to test, and we see in a lot of different agencies in similar situations, is you might have, just make up a number, say 30 people on the roster, but you only have 2 drivers, or half of them are legacy members, and another percentage of the volunteers can't go in an ideal age atmosphere. So, we're just trying to see where's the pinch points, where can the most help get the greatest return on investment, those kinds of things, as well as budgets and, your organizational, your setup of the 501c3 and, bylaws and things like that. So we're throwing kind of a broad net, and then the last piece is really this more qualitative past perspective of this and getting input from the people that have this lived experience and say, okay, what's your greatest challenge and what are your ideas? And then we can test the ones that get priority and we think are good ideas to move forward with.
Those are the next steps. As you can tell, we're not committed to a particular solution or set of solutions. We're just asking questions, gathering input, and we want to be collaborative and to hear from you. Chief Cole, I just want to say thank you so much for hosting this. Any closing comments from you, sir?
Well, I hope we can all get this thing worked out. Been many, many years. We get to the top of the fence and we fall back out. So I just hope we keep driving the horse and the wagon the right way and not put it in reverse this time. There's a lot of money in this county. There's a lot of houses. There's a lot to be spoke for in Jefferson County. And I think Jefferson County is a pretty wealthy county. But where is the money at?
Where's it going?
Where is it going? I mean, you guys give us $85,000 a year. We greatly appreciate that. Everything that you guys give us, it helps us. Is it gonna help us buy a new fire truck? No. But it helps us do a lot of other stuff. And I really truly think that we need to drive the horse hard to make it work. The question I have at the end, the levy, is the levy being done for the fire departments, or is it gonna be done for the county, the JCSA fire department? And be split like it was when we first done it? Or how is that going to be worked for time?
We do not have a plan. We're coming up with a plan with y'all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. We don't have a plan. That's what we're working on right now. That's part of this study. As far as what we need, and then the legal commission responsibility to figure out how we can move from there. And I just close the statement. I just want to thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I appreciate hearing from you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. You had some members who had to leave. There was an accident at the Mountain Lake Club. I wish they could have been here for the whole thing, but if you want to pass it on to them, I'll be happy to come up here, have a conversation with them anytime as well too. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to be clear, we have not committed to doing the levy yet. We're asking questions at this stage. Any closing comments from Chief Commissioner Keith?
Just thank you. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy Fridays to come speak with us. And it's a two-way conversation, so let's continue that.
Tonight is night one. We're just starting and we're gonna linger around and talk to y'all with any other closing questions or comments. Thank you for being here. Good night.
One thing, there's a lot, we're already done.